What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
Some would call me the co-host of this show, Ben.
Some might, and those some would be wrong.
Well, would they? I mean, certainly also hosting the show. I think you would agree.
I would not even a little bit, not even remotely,
not even close.
I like to think that when we come on this show, what's really happening is that I am here as maybe I like to think of myself both as host and guest.
Wow.
In a way.
What are you leaving me with here?
Well, next to nothing, effectively.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, next to nothing. Yeah. No, so I think what I like to think,
I'm just here so you're not talking to no one.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. You're like, you know how on late night shows, very frequently they'll have like the guest who's like the famous person who comes and sits in the chair. Then you got like the host who like realistically everybody's like watching and for the host, like, let's be honest. And then you've got like that other guy who occasionally like helps like prod the conversation along. Like if there's like a lull or,
right.
You know, like they're like kind of like the filler banter person.
Yeah.
That's what I like to think of you as.
Oh, wow. What happened to like most specialist guest?
Well, I think that ship sailed.
Oh,
but you may have caused that ship to sail.
I don't think so.
I think that you were like, no, I'm not a special guest. I'm a co-host. And I was like, well, if we're going to put you on if we're going to put you on staff, then we gotta like give you a role, you know, kind of make you
co-host. Exactly.
Make you important somehow.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's room on the business card for co-host.
Ben, who had the fun fact about coyotes last week?
You did.
I did.
I thought you did a fantastic job. Speaking of the fun fact about coyotes, let's go ahead and dive on into everybody's favorite segment, a fun fact about coyotes.
Let's do it.
Today's fun fact is not actually about coyotes at all, but last week I talked about how packs of animals very frequently have very almost extremely fitting names. And so a group of coyotes is called a band of coyotes.
A band of coyotes.
A group of jellyfish is called a smack of jellyfish.
But we decided that current was a better
We did decide that current, I know, you're right. I still, for some reason, I'm like really like stuck on the smack thing just because it's like, a smack is like not even remotely close to, it's not like remotely close to a word that describes a collective
now
in any way, shape or form.
Right. Oh my gosh. Do you know, now we have talked before here on the Pop about how our high school does not list you or I as notable alumni.
We have mentioned it. Yeah.
It's come up and the little colonels have done their best to get us on the page with no success yet. They've had success. It's gone up. It's come down.
It's good.
We have, you know what we learned was that apparently you need some amount of like one accolades.
Oh,
right. That was part of it. So like one way we could go about that would be like trying to win like a Streamy or something. However, as you know, we've also set up other sorts of shenanigans where we're trying to sway the vote of a local magazine to name us the best unnamed thing in Roanoke.
Well, I mean, I think we've earned it.
I think we have earned it. And that's one step. Anyway, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. Trying to say is that we know the little colonels are good at updating Wikipedia to reflect what it should say.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just saying that if somewhere on Wikipedia it describes jellyfish as a smack of jellyfish, maybe we should update the vernacular to say a current of jellyfish. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
So like we like literally, so like when you're on the Kilimanjaro Safari Tour at Disney World.
Yeah.
And they're doing the bit where they tell you like, you know, the group of flamingos is called the flamboyants.
Exactly.
You know, like they'll be like, oh, and fun fact, even though we don't have any, you know, on this particular tour, because we're supposed to be like on safari.
Yeah.
A group of jellyfish formerly referred to as a smack, now referred to as a current.
That's right. As a current.
It really is better.
It's such a better word because they float on a current.
They do exactly that.
If they zap you, it is with a current of electricity.
Ish.
You know, I don't know how jellyfish work and electricity and stuff, but to me, that is a double layered meaning for a current of jellyfish.
I think it's a fantastic double layered meaning, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think that we should officially start the lobby to rename a group of jellyfish from smack, even though it's beloved, to current. To current, which is actually very fitting for today's fun fact about coyotes, which is not about coyotes at all. which is not this is the first episode of the Pop that we're ever airing live on the Super Carlin Brothers YouTube channel.
So you get to see what we look like and where we sit. Do we match
what you imagine?
What you imagined in your head?
Is the One True Host trophy exactly where you thought it would be?
Yeah, I think most people probably are like, maybe it should be right there.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
definitely do not make it askew. But
I see you made it askew too.
I made it askew the right way. So the fun fact about coyotes, though, because there could be people who are listening for the first time. And they're like, oh, is it a fun fact about coyotes? But it's actually just a fun fact about anything. No, it's usually a fun fact about specifically coyotes.
Usually.
But today, no. Nothing better than the first time that we do something to make an exception to an ongoing rule.
Yeah, what you're doing is accidentally making the exception to the rule the new rule.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, no.
Maybe if we've run out of fun fact about coyotes, we call it the fun fact about coyotes, but it's really just, here's a fun fact.
I don't feel like we're ever going to run out about fun facts about coyotes.
Well, I am wholeheartedly in agreement on that.
Yeah.
I mean, coyotes are just majestic creatures. They have so much to offer to the world of interest.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, today I got a fantastic email from a Kerrigan Holt, who came up with a spectacular name. So we call the people who tune in to popcorn culture the little Colonels, the Colonels.
Yeah. If you're watching for the first time,
congrats, you are now one.
You're a little colonel.
You are a little colonel. But the idea was to give a group of little colonels a name. And the name that Kerrigan came up with, I thought was so perfect. It's a theater.
A theater.
A theater.
A theater of little colonels.
A theater of colonels.
No, that's so good.
Right?
It's great.
Because it's like when you, like, I think of, especially in the context that we're using popcorn, is very like movie theater popcorn.
Right.
You know, like.
Okay, so then let me ask you, let's say you're going to make some popcorn for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got your little container of unpopped kernels. You've got the stove going. You've got like the oil in the pan.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, right. If you're like, oh, I need like if you're referring to the little kernels, those as well, would you call that like a theater?
I would
as well
from now on.
So any collection of unpopped popcorn is a theater.
A theater.
A theater of kernels.
A theater of kernels.
So it's like it's not like, hey, can you pass me that canister of popcorn? You'd be like, can you pass me that theater of kernels?
Yeah, when you said canister before, I was like,
that didn't make sense.
I was like, kind of weird word choice, but okay. I mean, I can use context clues to understand what you're going for, but like kind of barely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you pour in like a half cup of the theater. No, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, that doesn't sound right. It can still be a half cup of kernels.
A half cup of kernels. Okay.
Yeah.
But that half cup came out of your theater of kernels.
My theater of kernels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is better.
I think so too, because the vessel in which they're sold in is an unspecified size.
How far back does this go? If you have like a cornfield.
A cornfield.
Yeah. Is that still a cornfield, or is this now like a drive-in theater or something?
There's something I really enjoy
like
about the
outdoor.
thought that like if you pass a cornfield, it's like, look, kids, a theater of corn.
A theater of corn.
it makes the cornfield just that much greater. Which, I mean, let's be honest, cornfields were great to begin with, and so
They're big.
even better described.
Better described.
Yeah.
Okay, so people watching, or maybe this, I have a feeling where a lot of new people are watching this particular episode, so they might be wondering why we have a popcorn trophy on the table here.
Yeah, the one true host.
That says the one true host.
Well, I think there's a fantastic story about it.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's kind of one of my favorite things about everything that we do professionally.
Okay.
Is this particular trophy.
And
where it sits on the table.
Right.
So the one true host has been an ongoing battle. Well, to call it a battle, you'd really have to have two people really fighting.
It hasn't been close. It was as close as it's ever been last week, I think.
Last week. Okay. Yeah. So well, let's apply some context, because it also comes with an announcement.
Okay.
So basically, when we started the show, we were like, okay, this would be like a fun way for us to determine who is the one true host of the show week in, week out. And we have, of course, myself, Buzzy B, and then of course you, Jazzy J. Jazzy J, which are like the two options available. Mm-hmm. Although there's always been also a third option, which was
no host,
which would be host neither.
Host neither.
In the event of a host neither win, we would start the episode with about 15 seconds just silence.
No one introducing anything.
No one introducing anything. And we would just immediately go into banter. You know, it would be like 15 seconds of silence. And then like, we'd really have to like practice our A game to be able to just like immediately pick up like with no like, impromptu, like no lead in argument about the co-host special guest. I know. I think both of us would co-hate upon host neither.
Oh yes.
Either way. So the way that we have this determined, we have a Patreon for Popcorn Culture, patreon.com/popcorn culture. And there are 3 tiers. Each of them all provide the same thing, right? Which is basically bonus content. We do a after the final pop each week.
After the final pop, yeah, where
you can tune in, get a little extra bonus action.
That's right.
Which I will say, you know, like you and I are like long-winded talkers.
After the final pop started as like a 10. I think the intent was like about 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10, maybe we'll 15.
Go more.
Yeah.
I think the last few have gone well over 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just little chatty Cathys over here.
That's us.
That's us. So anyway, you know, as patrons have come on, they have chosen their tiers, and so far I have been able to hold the trophy.
Yeah, whatever tier has the most people signed, or whatever tier has the most people signed up, that is who the current host is. And so thus far, Buzzy B has been in the lead.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Although we could shake things up.
We could,
because we're launching 3 new tiers.
3 new tiers, which are basically going to be very similar to the existing tiers.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So we're going to have the new tier is going to be $25 a month, and it's coming with quarterly exclusive Popcorn Culture merchandise. So every 3 months, basically, we'll have like a new piece of merch that we specifically create.
Right.
That goes to those patrons.
Right. So it's just like exclusive once a quarter, something to do with the show. You get a fun thing. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I want to talk about that just for a split second, because this is something I've thought about a lot of times. Like if somebody, and I've seen it come in all shapes and sizes as people like support people they like on YouTube or on podcasts or, you know, any platform, gamers and stuff. There's a huge variety of different ways that you could support somebody. Like it could just be simply watching their content, which is obviously first and foremost why they're going to be there.
Right.
Plenty of people interact with sponsorships that creator might have, purchasing merchandise, supporting on Patreon, buying merchandise.
Right.
You know, there's a bunch of different things you can do. We have a coffee company ourselves, Carlin Brothers Coffee, that you can have a coffee subscription to. And I've always wondered, like, if somebody were to ask me, like, what's the best way to support you? It's sort of a tricky answer, because it's like it can go any which number of ways. But one of the things that my personal experience with being a creator is that like you want to make really cool merch for people, especially if you got like just a super fun inside joke like with your audience, and it's like like let's do that. But we're not like in creators in general, I would say, hopefully not too much of a sweeping declaration, but maybe really good analysts when it comes to like being like a purchasing manager, which is like you can have like a degree in that specific job.
Yeah,
like it's something like predicting, you know, the correct number of things to order. And so, I mean, it can happen all the time. And I'm sure that we're not the only people that this has happened to, where you create a piece of merchandise, you buy however many units, you know, and then you just don't sell them at all.
Right. You just like totally flop.
You totally flop. And so typically, like as a creator, you're of course fronting the expenses associated with creating that merchandise.
Right.
And then, you know, kind of as a result, if you don't sell enough of it, you know, you might break even or literally lose money on the idea or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell the story of, I think, the worst piece of merch we ever made.
That we ever made. Yes.
Okay. So once upon a time,
I know exactly what it is.
Of course you do. Because we still have them. They're not going anywhere.
Okay, nowhere fast, at least.
Okay. So the very first YouTube convention thing that Ben and I ever went to together was called Playlist Live.
Yep.
Right. And it's sort of the East Coast VidCon, if you will.
Yeah, I think
sort of
reasonable description.
Yeah,
the thing I would say about it is that it seems like the convention for more like lifestyle YouTubers, creators, and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But so we get there, and it's at this big convention, and the number one thing it seems like that is being sold, or at least the most noticeable thing that is getting sold are these big white posters with gold foil on them, and it says, "I can't stop watching YouTubers."
Yes.
And the whole point of these is that someone at a convention will purchase it, and it's like the thing that you get other people to sign.
Yes, but these are specifically, they were Tyler Oakley merch.
And that was the trick of it. It was like, oh man, because you see them and you're like, man, what a good thought if your playlist to make a poster for people to sign.
Right.
But it wasn't Playlist who made it. They were made by Tyler Oakley, who's, if you don't know, just like a huge, of course you do, but he's a huge YouTuber.
Yes.
And so it felt like, oh, it is such a great idea, because it's, there's nothing about it
that says Tyler
Oakley. It's just a thing at conventions, like people will buy.
We signed some of them.
Yeah.
Like people would walk up to us, and they'd be like, "Well, you signed our poster." And it was like, of course.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it was, so I'll let you continue on, but those posters themselves were such inspiration for this idea.
Yeah. And we were like, oh, that's such a good idea. So similarly, we were like, okay, what could we come up with that would be like a really interesting, like that could just be like meant to be sold at conventions as something you could sign.
Yes.
Right.
And this was, I mean, I feel like this was us like thinking we were being remarkably clever.
I think so. So we wanted to be just like sort of generic looking, but kind of like creator video-esque, so that if you like saw it, it would still be like, okay, I saw why you got a bunch of like YouTuber people to sign that thing.
Yes.
So what we came up with, and I think part of the reason I landed on this, because I used to work at like the concert venue, and I had to work with the Globetrotters a lot, which we've talked about before on this show. And they have autographed basketballs that just get passed around all over the place.
Yes.
So what we came up with was just a YouTube or like a play ball is what we called it.
Right. So, and I think the other token of inspiration was possibly the Luxo ball itself from Pixar.
Yeah, because we had a bunch of Luxo balls on set.
We did, yeah. And so
or still do.
Right. So like when we say play ball, what we mean is basically like your standard, like when you go to like Walmart and there's those big like tall bungee corded like ball pit things where you can like pull out like a ball with like Anna's face on it from Frozen.
Right.
It's like those, but just like a little bit smaller.
Right. And we're like, okay, we'll just get a red ball and we'll put like a play button on it.
Yeah.
And that'll just look, because like it looks like, like if you press play like on a DVD player or a VCR or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or things that still exist.
I was going to say, I think, people could probably get to play button.
You know what the play button looks like when you're watching something?
It's a triangle.
It's a triangle. So that was it. It's a triangle inside of a circle on a red ball. And the idea was that if you were like on a panel or something, or like on stage, that you could like sign one, throw it out into the audience or something, or that you could walk around and you just like collect signatures on the ball
itself
at a place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thought in my mind too is that like whenever you're at these cons, you always see like people sort of like sequestered off in corners with like their buddies and stuff, like finding some kind of like activity to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing in my mind is like, it's a ball. Like people are going to find like so many fun things to do with this ball. Like in my mind, what happened would be like, you'd walk into like the convention merch hall and there would be like this gigantic floor to ceiling tub of these red balls that everybody was going and buying. And like, as you passed everyone in the hallway, they've got like the red ball.
Oh, how you build things up.
I know.
Not you, me as well.
Yeah.
You, anyone.
Right. No, I mean, this was like the grand vision for it. It was like, okay, how neutral can we go? Like red, YouTube color, play, goes with anything.
Right.
It's a fun, small, packable ball that like is not going to prevent people from being like, I can't take that on an airplane.
Right.
And you can collect signatures on it, which, I mean, the number of kind of odd things that we've signed, I mean, it would be ripe for the picking.
Ripe.
Ripe.
Oh, I thought we thought we were onto something, and it just I think we announced it, but it's not, again, it wasn't like, it's not, you can buy it on our store if you want, but
they're still available.
They're still there. But it's not a good like, oh, this is such a Carlin Brothers thing that I went to their store to buy it. The idea was at a convention to buy it. But then, so we go to VidCon later that year, and like, you go to the booth I think it was for like DFTBA, and they don't have them there.
Right.
And it was just like, well, never mind. This is
I know. I feel like what we like probably, I don't even know how many of these we have, but probably what we need to do is like just rent our own booth at VidCon and just have a red play ball booth. Very generically branded. We're the red play ball booth.
Well, so this is the problem, is that I think when I first bought one of those Pixar balls, I was with like seasoned veterans of people who went to go to like press junkets at Pixar Studios.
Sure.
And so they knew like you can go, they have like, the big tubs where you can just pick up a ball and purchase it from the gift shop there inflated. But if you're like in the know, the obvious problem with like buying a lot of them is that they do become difficult to ship or transport because they take up lots of space.
Right.
So if you're smart, you just go ask the person at the register, can you sell me some uninflated balls?
Right.
And then you can transport them flat. You can get like 20 of them. No problem.
No problem.
Fit them right in your suitcase.
Right.
Problem is they're all sitting at the warehouse inflated. So
yes,
they were having problems transporting them.
All of our play balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it didn't work out at all.
It has not played out the way we wanted it to. And it was a ginormbo flop. Anyway, that was the worst merch we've ever made. If you want one, still available. SuperCarlinBrothers.store.
Yeah. Or if you'd like more specific merch. So that's sort of the idea.
Or stay tuned because we have cooler things coming.
we have cooler things coming. So we came up with this idea. So the new Patreon tiers that we're going to have, I feel like now this sounded like a giant long-winded commercial for this.
Nope.
When like truly I feel like we were able to just tell a story. So it's just like let us tell you how we were not smart once upon a time. But so we have 3 new tiers, Buzzy or Bee.
Yeah. Jazzy or Jay.
And neither or neither.
Neither or neither host or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's $25 a month. Every quarter we'll have a new, very cool kind of like premium piece of exclusive merch. And to kick off, we were like, I remember we had like our whole like giant whiteboard schematic, like you and I always do. I feel like we don't make decisions without a whiteboard.
Man, whiteboards are the best way to make sure you're making a good decision.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're like, if you're questioning decisions that you're making on the daily, buy a whiteboard.
Buy a whiteboard, put it up there.
Mount it to the wall, get a good selection of colors, do the thing.
When I left my old job, I had a whiteboard in that office, like mounted on the wall.
Yeah. Did you take it with you?
No, I did not take it with me.
That would have been hilarious.
I'm
taking this.
Yeah. Like every now and then, like I would go try and like write ideas for that job on there. He's like, okay, what should I, just put random things. But every now and then I would also come across like, I was also, of course, trying to escape that job. So I would have like YouTube ideas or like quotes that would inspire me YouTube wise.
Okay.
On there or whatever. Or I would like sketch like a little like doodle or something. That would be on there. So when I left, I left any available doodle that I had done on the board. And I just wrote in the middle of it, "See you in another life, brother."
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I have a picture of that somewhere. I always wonder like what the next person to get my office did if they looked at that like, oh, that was cool. Or just like, whatever. And just like erased it and just moved on with their life. Who cares?
Absolutely no regard for what this means.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
No.
That is so funny. Also, I was just thinking, my mind went to a remarkably morbid place when you said "see you in another life, brother," but I was like, someday one of us is going to have to give like a eulogy. And
oh, Ben, why would you even think about that?
I mean, can you just imagine how hard it's going to be to say those words?
Oh my God. Sometimes I'm like, I have thought about this exact thing and I'm like, I should really stop ending the videos that way because it sounds so morbid. It's like it's like I've been doing it for so long though. I've been doing it since the beginning, and at first it was just like a reference to the show Lost
and the character Desmond.
Yeah, every time he like ends a conversation with almost anyone on the show, he's like, "See you in a life, brother," and he just like signs out like later.
Yeah, and we loved it.
Yeah, I loved that guy. Like Desmond was like my favorite character on the show. And so I was like, oh, and because we were starting it with "Hey Brother" which is a nod to Arrested Development. Yeah. And then I was like, what's a good sign off that also has the word brother in it? And like, that was it. And it was just there for the taking.
Totally.
It was just not there for the taking, but it was just available. And it was just like, okay, that's great. We like both of these shows. And now I've just been saying it for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll just never think about that again.
Yeah. Let's not think about that.
Deal with that.
Yeah.
Some other time.
So Jazzy or Jay, Buzzy or Bee.
Buzzy or Bee. Yes. And so again, yeah, every quarter, new piece of cool merch that we're gonna like design specifically for this. It would be the only way to get it. And we were like, okay, so like, what do we get for like round 1? And we were like, it's simple. It's right in front of us.
It's right in front. It's literally right. If you're watching, it's literally right in front of us. It is this cup. The one true cup.
The one. Oh, wow.
That was really nice. I bet even that was for the people who are only listening.
Who are only listening.
I'm going to do it again. Get ready.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That is a solid.
Man. That's how you know it's made of stainless steel.
Stainless steel. So
powder coated stainless steel from the great folks over at Yeti.
What I've got here, what I'm holding in my hand, I'll describe it to people. It is I would say a forest green mug. It has the Popcorn Culture logo laser etched onto it. And it is Ben's one true cup from his One Cup Life, aka Fred the Cup.
Fred the Cup, yeah. So this was like something that for a reasonable part of 2020, I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to have one cup. I just want the one cup that like so that I don't have to make so many decisions. And I mean, it's like this. It's not like a super truly original thought. Like this was Steve Jobs' whole thing. Like he wore the black sweater and the blue jeans because.
Right.
If you have the clothes that you're going to wear every day, then you don't have to decide what clothes you're going to wear. And that's 2 fewer decisions they have to make in that day. And so I was like, man, One Cup Life would be so truly spectacular. So I had this made for myself and I was like, man, this is going to be just so neat.
Yeah.
You know, to have like a little Popcorn Culture mug. And so when we decided to jump onto this new tier, we were like, okay, this will be perfect. So anybody who signs up for the new Buzzy or B, Jazzy or J, neither,
right,
for Q1 2021.
So like before the end of March.
Before the end of March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll qualify for Fred the Cup.
Fred the Cup. You will get your very own Fred the Cup.
Now I'm going to try and clear up maybe some potential confusion. Whether you are if you're on the Patreon and you're just at regular Jazzy J or Buzzy B, you like being at Jazzy or J or Buzzy or B does not count for more votes. You still just have one vote.
Oh, just the one vote.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So it's not that like, oh, now my vote counts 5 times as much or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Correct. No, still just the one vote.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So still, right. Everyone got that?
Everyone got that? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. So anyway, I mean, moving directly away from that, but being able to tangent neatly off of it. This has been the simplification lifestyle. I feel like I've been having these interactions with these things in my life lately. And I feel like the One Cup Life is maybe like the perfect example of like, you know, if you just simplify the down to one cup, then you don't have to be like making all of these decisions about, I don't know, throughout your day, which cup am I going to use?
Right.
Also, I think you build a fantastic rapport with your cup.
Oh, I mean, it's a true relationship.
It is. It is. I mean, it's a big time commitment, and you know that's why you have to name it and the whole rest. I've been having this thing lately where I feel like there's like the phrase like more money, more problems, which I think makes sense because more money means more stuff, which means more problems.
Oh, this is how you're interpreting it?
This is sort of how I'm interpreting it.
Okay.
So there's an example, and I may have brought it up before. I can't remember. But when I was in operations management class in college, there was this example that our professor gave us about Ford's Taurus, which is this very kind of like standard looking car, like basic sedan, 4 doors. Like,
yeah, if you say Ford Taurus to me, I think that's the most sedan car.
It's the most sedan car. Like it's like it is not like a performance car. It is not like an edgy car. It's like it's a fine car. And that's it. You know, like it's so vanilla.
Throwing shade.
Maybe.
Like,
yeah, no flavors have been added to this vehicle. But so I think it was in like the late 80s. They were having trouble with the car because they were finding that it was like somewhat unreliable. And at the time, I think that like the way that they were approaching it from this like engineering and like management perspective was they were like, okay, the Ford Taurus is made of 2,000 different parts. And if each part has like a 99.9% success rate, meaning like this clip that holds, you know, the door handle to the physical metal door itself.
Right.
Like 99.9% of the time, it does not fail. But if you have 2,000 objects that make up the car,
Right.
and they all have that 99.9% success rate, the way that you calculate the success rate of the vehicle as a whole, like the likelihood for any part to break, is basically by multiplying 99.9 times 99.9 times 99.9 2,000 times.
Right. Okay.
So as time goes on, you know, you might have a car whose success rate or failure rate is like 13%.
Right.
You know, so it's like every single thing has a 99.9% chance of succeeding in doing its job, but there's so many of them that through normal operation of the vehicle, it's almost like a 1 in 10 chance that something is going to break.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I follow.
Okay. You follow?
Yeah.
You can do the math there. So this is something lately where I feel like I've been having all of these like small little problems that have been happening to me where I have like on our desk at work, for example, I have desperately wanted like for years and
Desperately.
years. Desperately.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So good. I've always wanted 2 monitors,
Oh, right. Yeah.
you know, like
You know, the 2-monitor system.
I wanted the ability to have 2 screens. Like grand ambition.
Whoa.
We're like almost a technology company, and this is not something I can figure out. It's
literally just one cord.
It's like one cord.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a whole thing where like we had these like really nice monitors that had been here from like a gaming setup that we had a long time ago that we weren't using anymore. So I was like, okay, I really, really, really want to take one of those like super cool monitors and I want to like hook it up next to my desk. But my desk was too small and I had a standing desk. So I was like, okay, I need to get like a bigger standing desk altogether. But then it was like, but if I get a bigger standing desk, the way that like our new office is oriented, it's like Jay's going to have to get a desk too. Otherwise my desk is going to be huge and his desk is going to be like real small and it's going to like not be
now I'm starting to see the core of your motivation.
Oh yeah.
Oh
okay,
yeah. I didn't realize the total end game was 2 monitors.
Jay. My end game always means more monitors.
Okay.
Always more monitors. So you'll see why I said that in a minute.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was like, okay, standing desk. But now I have to find like the perfect standing desk. like 2 weeks of research later and talking to Jay like 100 times. It's like, okay, I got the ones and they were out of stock.
Yeah.
So it was like,
I remember that obstacle.
So I was like, oh man, okay, well, we'll find these other ones instead. So we finally ordered them and they got there and they're actually very nice. I love them. But so then I had to go and like dig out this monitor that we're not using. So like we just moved offices, everything's like everywhere. So I find the monitor, I put it on the desk and I'm like, cool, this is going to be great. Sometime next week, I'll find the cords. So like I started like digging through and I find some of the cords and it's like, yes, okay, got this going. Can plug it into the wall, but then I need the adapter cord from like my computer to another computer. So
oh boy,
I had to go on Amazon and order 2 of those because Scott, our video editor, was actually doing the same thing. We had 2 of these monitors. He was going to use one. I was going to use one. Right. So we're all good. So I ordered 2 of the cords, one for Scott, one for me, and they show up. And Scott's iMac is much newer than my iMac, so it worked on his. But mine was the wrong cord.
Oh no.
So I was like, oh my gosh.
I had to order another cord.
So I got to order another cord. So I finally ordered another cord. I finally have all the pieces in the right place. And it's like, good to go. I'm so excited. Like I need a window of time where I'm not like doing anything to like plug it in. So I do.
Yeah.
You know what happens?
I know what happened.
The screen breaks, man.
The screen, you somehow broke the screen.
The screen like turned into like that static, you know, like if you were like back in the day, if you were like channel changing and you got to like a channel like your family didn't like pay for and it was just like white fuzzy screen.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it did. And then all of a sudden it just went black and it will not turn back on. And it was like, oh my gosh.
What did you do?
What did I do?
Don't know.
Like, I have no idea. And it just failed. So after all this time, it was like, no monitors. I don't have 2 monitors. And it's like,
you had the monitor first, needed a bigger desk, but then needed me to get a bigger desk.
Yep.
Had to get sold out, found a new desk, got the desk, assembled it, needed a cord, bought the wrong cord, bought a new cord, plugged it in, it broke the monitor.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And so now I only have 1 monitor. That's how it went.
Oh my gosh. That's a real bummer. That's a real bummer.
I know.
I have in my home office, I actually have 3 monitors, or what it would look like is 3.
Wow.
I know. So
brag much?
But actually it's a really weird setup because I have my PC, which I use for like gaming and streaming stuff like on Twitch.
Sure.
And then I've got my Mac, which I use for like video editing and stuff. because I edit on Final Cut. And so I've got the 2 screens for the PC and the Mac, but I only have 1 mouse. And I have 2 keyboards, but the mouse is Bluetooth to each of them. But anytime I want to switch between them, I'll have to like push a button on the bottom to like make it switch.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
So it works pretty good.
That's pretty handy.
Yeah. But
so it sounds like more money, more problems is not a problem for you.
Well, I mean, when I go to the Mac, then of course I only have the 1 screen, but when I switch over here, I've got the 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for you.
Well,
it sounds like you have 3 screens.
I do have 3 screens.
I just have the 1.
Yep.
Just the 1 screen.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So can I tell you my next?
If I bring in my 2 extra screens tomorrow and attach them to my Mac, is that going to just drive you bonkers?
My heart will break.
If I come in, you've gone to all this work to have a second screen, and you come in and I have 3.
If yours just works naturally, like, well, what'd you do differently than me? I plugged in the cord. That's what I did.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that it would work because I don't know if there's that many ports, but this, yeah, I don't know. As it were, they're just PC monitors, so I'm not running it also to a Mac, which is like its own standalone thing.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, so anyway, moving on from that monitor problem, let me tell you about something that happened to me again, where having too many things was once again a problem. And once again, it was monitor related.
Okay.
I know. Who'd have thought? So this time, okay. So we go mountain biking, you and I, right?
We do.
And
yeah, we've been going like most Saturdays here for the past several months.
Yes, exactly. So it's kind of like our hobby outside of the office here that us and a couple of our friends go and do. Most people in general don't go mountain biking at all in the winter because it's miserable and cold.
Because it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've been doing it anyway. And I have been getting my clock cleaned, so to speak, where you guys are so fast.
Oh,
so fast on the mountain bikes. And I'm like doing everything in my human power. And I'm like, we're going on these rides and we're like getting to the top of hills and stuff. And everybody's like laughing and conversational. And I'm like, I'm so tired.
You never seem so tired.
Oh man, I'm like dying inside.
You're dying.
I'm dying inside.
Keep it together, man.
It's like, yeah,
keep it together.
It's like my legs are screaming, my body hurts. Does anybody have more gummy bears?
Oh man.
Which is our trail food of choice is gummy bears. Certainly not contributing to our lack of performance at all. But so one of the things that I've been like very excited about was getting a bike computer.
Yeah.
That like kind of gives you like the stats on like where you're riding and stuff like that. So like it'll speak to you and be like, hey, you've ridden 1 mile, whatever. Like this is how much elevation you've had. And there's an add-on accessory you can get for it that's a heart rate monitor. It's like one of those like chest strap things.
Yeah.
So you can like put it on. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be really interesting for me because like each week I'm like getting destroyed. And I'm like, I gotta know, like, because it's like, if I'm going as hard as my body can go and not keeping up, I can live with that.
Right.
But if I'm just like,
you're just like mentally blocking yourself. If
I'm just mentally blocking myself, it's a different story. So it's like, I want to know, like, if I'm sitting at like max heart rate on this ride, then it's like, Ben, there's nothing else you can do. Like you are going as hard as you're physically capable of going without more training.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like I can be at peace with that.
Sure.
You know, like that's like, it's like, okay, like that's, your limits are your limits and you know, you're getting older.
It was my birthday last week.
I was just letting that settle in for a second.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Just the harsh reality of it.
You're younger than me.
That's true. That's true. But not in bike years. In bike years, you're younger than me.
What? Okay. I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't know if it makes sense.
I'm going to check the math on that one. But
anyway, 2 weekends ago, we're trying to go mountain biking and we go, it had like just rained and snowed all week.
Yeah.
And so we get out to the trail system and, you know, I'm like, you know, I got it all fired up and it's like reading my heart rate monitor, you know, it's like 65 beats per minute or whatever while we're standing in the parking lot. And I'm like, nice, really cool. And we get out onto the trail and it is pure mud. And it's like, we cannot ride in this.
Right.
You know, it was like, we rode, I think less than 1 mile. We rode for like 12 minutes.
It was the worst because when it rains, it typically means that we are forced onto a very specific trail system here.
Yes.
Called Mill Mountain, which if you are unfamiliar with Roanoke is the mountain atop which sits the Roanoke Star.
Yes.
Yes. The largest man-made star on Earth, or it was when it was built. I don't know if it's still true.
Yeah, does it hold that title
Don't
still?
know if it's still true, but when you drive into Roanoke, man, there it is, and it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much when people know where we're from, they're like, oh yeah, the star.
Yes, exactly. The Star City.
Yeah.
Anyway. So when it rains, said mountain is pretty rocky.
Yep.
And all of the water will just like run off. So it's not really that bad. You can actually still ride it pretty effectively without like damaging the trails that much or anything like that. But, and that was our plan because it had indeed rained a lot. But one of our friends was like, we should try out this other bike park.
Yeah.
Like it's an hour away. And we were like, well, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got time.
We got time. No, man, it was an hour drive out there and the conditions were abysmal.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
It was like, I mean, it was so like bad that you'd be like riding your bike straight, but the bike would be like sideways.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm not even doing anything right now.
Ugh.
Like, you know, yeah. So anyway, my heart rate monitor worked that day. And I was like, but I didn't get to like test it.
Didn't get to ride.
I didn't get to see like what my heart was doing.
So when you're saying monitor here, you're not talking about like a screen monitor. You're talking about a heart rate monitor.
I am talking about heart
I
rate
see
monitor.
what you've done. Nice play on words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can do it again too.
Oh,
but I'll be
okay.
lying the third time, just as a heads up.
Okay.
But it's planned.
Yeah.
Either way.
You've already planned out like an entire wordplay's worth of jokes here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got it all sorted.
Okay.
So monitor problem number 1, monitor problem number 2. So this past weekend we're riding Mill Mountain because it rained. And Mill Mountain is the thing about it mostly is that it is like we're pretty much in a valley and then there's the mountain, which means that like any amount of interacting with riding Mill Mountain means that pretty much you leave the parking lot and go straight up the side of a mountain. Like that is the only available option.
It is typically why it would be not our first choice to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so I'm like, okay, at the very least, I'll finally get to see what my heart's saying today.
Right. Like it's going to be a hard ride.
It's going to be a hard ride.
It's going to go up a hill.
I knew that. And I was like, okay, so this will be good. This will be like a really good time for me to test to see what is my heart doing. Like,
yeah.
Is it my heart that's the problem or is it my brain that's the problem?
Okay.
Or is it both? And so we get out there and like I'm sitting in the parking lot and like the little heart rate monitor is like popping up on my physical computer that like shows me my information. And it's like NA, not available.
So your heart's not beating at all.
It's not beating at all. It turns out I'm
That's
a robot.
a problem.
I know. I know. Plot twist. Nobody expected it. It's like the element of surprise.
No one ever expects it.
Nobody ever expects the element of surprise. So anyway, like our good buddy Mike is with us and he's like, oh man, like just like spit on your hands and like try to touch it to like the little like nodes or something.
Yeah.
So that like it like is kind of sparking the electricity or something. I don't know how this works. And I was like, you know, so I'm like sitting there, like, you know, standing with freezing cold hands, spitting on my hands, like, rubbing my chest.
It sounds like a joke. No, have you tried spitting on your hands? No. Try it. Okay. What now? Nothing.
Nothing. Was it a joke?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
So I'm like, you know, spitting on my hands, like rubbing my chest with it. And it's not working at all. And so I'm like, I'm out there and this is like 2 days after the other monitor situation. So I'm like furious with technology. I think Mercury is in fact in retrograde, which was something that like my wife Alice says all the time. She'll like inform me whenever Mercury's in retrograde. And I am like so bought into it at this point. I'm like, I'm out there on the trails, like cussing Mercury.
How often can it possibly happen?
Constantly, basically.
Constantly?
Maybe 4 times a year.
I think I never even heard this phrase until like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And my assumption was I never heard the phrase because it must only happen like once every 30 years or something.
No, it happens constantly.
No, it happens constantly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just didn't know people who knew about the Mercury.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You gotta know people who know about the Mercury.
I guess, you know what though? I've also recently learned that Mercury is the planet closest to every other planet.
Whoa.
Did you know that?
Maybe that's why it's having such a huge effect on me.
because Mercury goes around the sun so much faster than every other planet.
Okay.
That like, you know, if the Earth is, you know, if Earth and Mercury are both like the same spot, relatively like going around the sun, then they are closer together to each other right there for like a longer period of time than Earth and Venus are near each other. So like Earth is closer to Mercury longer than it is closer to Venus.
Absolutely fascinating.
Which is crazy. But this is true for every single planet in Mercury.
Man.
Yeah. So Mercury is like closer to Neptune longer than like Jupiter is closer to Neptune.
to be entirely honest with you, I'm just blown away of your planetary knowledge.
Well, this is all from a single CGP Grey video.
Okay.
And it blew my mind. I was like, this is amazing.
Okay, well, hold on. Now I need to see. I need to like. I'm gonna do myself a quick on the fly Google.
Yeah.
What does it mean, Mercury retrograde?
You don't even know.
What does it mean?
As far as you have described it to me, it means that technology doesn't. The effect on Earth is that technology doesn't work as well. Although, as I understand it, this is not true at all. That it just makes a lot of. It's like superstitious mostly.
I think so. I think so. Doesn't mean
I'm sort of in the superstitious camp.
No. It's 100% scientific real. Jay, have I told you the 2 monitor stories? Almost 3.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
tell me it's not real. Okay. It says, if you're unfamiliar with the astro terminology, Mercury in retrograde, or more correctly, Mercury retrograde, means the planet Mercury appears to stop and move backwards from its orbit.
Oh. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Appears to, but doesn't. Because, of course, that would be impossible.
Because, of course, that would be impossible. How does Mercury retrograde affect humans? Mercury is known as the planet that rules all communications. This means that when Mercury appears retrograde, people may experience communication issues, problems with technology, or even things like lost mail.
Oh.
Sound familiar?
No.
If this is not scientific evidence, then I don't know what scientific evidence is.
That sounds accurate.
Precisely. So where was I going with this? So my heart rate monitor didn't work.
Right.
The whole ride.
The whole ride?
I was getting like progressively madder at it as the ride was going on because I'm like huffing and puffing up the side of the hill and I'm like, I have no idea if it's my heart that's the problem. And I need, like, I don't know. I feel like it helps me to explain things.
Did you ever figure out why it wasn't working?
No.
Like after the ride? Has it worked since?
It has. I got home and I'm like standing in my kitchen. I'm like, I'm going to do nothing else until this thing reads me my heart rate. And I literally like put it on, turned on my computer, and it was reading.
Wow.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
What is going on?
There's so much data loss today.
That is very unfortunate. I will say that I have the same bike computer than you. I don't have a heart rate monitor or anything, but I have the same bike computer because I think you recommended to my wife which one to get me for Christmas.
Yeah.
And whilst I was very excited to have it, I am so bad at remembering to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I think partly, not only am I like, because I went on so many bike rides without it.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'll be like 30 minutes into the ride and I'll look down and it'll be like, start ride. And I'm like, oh man. And I will
I could have been tracking all this.
Yeah, I didn't track any of that. Now it feels like the whole day is ruined, or like the whole day's
ruined.
The whole day's worth of data is ruined.
I relate so hard.
Yeah. Or this is what's way worse. I will remember to start it and then I'll finish and I won't push end ride until like, I'm like, I'll get home and I'll hear the thing beep again and I'll be like, well, now it just tracked the car ride too.
It's like, man, you were going real slow for like 4 hours and then booking it.
Yeah. It's like, no. And then the other problem I have with the bike computer is that you have to like plug it into go plug it in to charge it.
Yeah.
Somewhere, like you have to take it off the bike.
True.
To go charge it.
Yep.
This is not a feature to me.
Oh, I see.
This is like a serious like fault of the tech, because once upon a time when we were kids, our dad got a new bike computer and he gave me the old one.
Okay.
And it was on my bike and it was so cool to be like, oh, you know, kid loving a bike computer, so fun.
I'm going 12 miles an hour.
Exactly. See how fast I'm going. Oh my god, look how far I went. This is amazing. But as far as I remember, that just had like a watch battery in the back or something.
Right.
And I don't think that ever needed to be changed ever.
Ever. Yeah.
It just ran forever.
Permanently
running.
I don't know why we don't power cars with watch batteries.
I don't know.
Because they work forever.
It's just so frustrating because I was like, well, maybe it's the sort of thing where it's annoying that you do have to charge it, but once you charge it, you're good for like half a year or something.
Sure.
Like, but that's not the case.
No.
That's not the case at all. You basically need to recharge it every time.
I would say like every like 6 rides.
Every like 6 rides?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I think so.
Well,
but if it was me, I would just put a charger right next to where you store your bike and then just like plug it in, you know? Put my bike down.
I don't want to
plug it in.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so yesterday,
it's so annoying.
I'm smoking Monitor all day, you know, like the lizard.
You're smoking Monitor lizard?
I told you I was going to be lying.
Yeah. Oh.
But Monitor is a type of meat, technically.
I guess you could eat a Monitor lizard.
So I bought a smoker several months ago and it was the Super Bowl. And because of, obviously, shutdown, stuff like that, I was not having my traditional annual party.
Right.
Which is like the one thing that I think that I've pretty much done every year for the past like 8 years.
Is have a Super Bowl party.
Yeah. I'm very consistent about it.
Yeah.
But so yesterday, of course, I'm not having a Super Bowl party, but I'm like, I need to celebrate the Super Bowl. So I had this gigantic like pork butt / Savannah lizard meat. Savannah monitor.
Pig lizards.
Pig lizards.
Pig lizards.
It's delicious.
Monitor hogs.
So I'm like, I'm so excited about it because I'm like, okay, this is going to be like this is going to be like my first real, rodeo.
Rodeo.
So to speak.
Yeah.
I'm going to like
really. You're about to smoke some butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I'm like getting it all prepped. I'm like doing all the things, like whatever, and I have this like, they like my friends call it the Easy Bake Oven for adults. It's a Traeger smoker, which basically is like so smart that you effectively have to do nothing. Like it's not meant to be hard.
Right.
And, so I've got the whole thing set up.
I'm going to interrupt you. I think, have you seen those, the TikToks where it's like the guy, it's like, you can hear the person in the back and they're like, nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know. Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. You're familiar with that. I feel like you personally are going out of your way to describe your smoker as the Easy Bake Oven of smokers.
Yeah. Well,
and you know what? Nobody's going to know.
Nobody's going to know.
Like,
they're going to know.
You're overestimating people's smoker knowledge, I think. And I think if you were just like, this is the most high-end smoker, people would be like, that's amazing.
That's
great.
How cool is
That's
that?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I think this is like one of those things where it's like, I never want to be like, maybe like misrepresenting my credentials, I
don't think you are misrepresenting. I think one person told you this and you're like, that I am. Wow. Okay.
I'll have you know it was 2 people.
Okay. I still don't.
Within 24 hours of one another. And so like that trend, I was like, if this keeps going,
no,
you got to like lean into it. You got to be like prepared. It's just like the best advice about like, getting to like middle school or high school is like, just laugh, like laugh with them.
Right.
It's like, this is the exact same thing. I'm just laughing. It's like, Easy Bake Oven for adults.
Oh man.
Look at me go.
But here's what I'm saying is I don't think you have to go out of your way to tell people that.
No.
I think you can just like let it ride.
Well, for the purposes of the story, I feel like it's at least somewhat relevant. Okay. The whole idea is that it was supposed to be pretty easy.
Okay.
And I messed it up anyway.
Okay.
No, well, I mean,
let's hear it.
So it's just another example. So we're going back to like the Ford Taurus example, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Ford Taurus, they made the Ford Taurus with 2,000 parts. And they were like, okay, how can we make it better? And they're like, make it with 1,800 parts.
Right.
And so like literally they made it with 10% fewer parts.
Right.
And it was literally a more reliable vehicle.
I mean, that's just math.
It's just math.
It's just math.
I mean, and that's the thing is that it literally is just math.
Yeah.
And so it was like, they found ways to, instead of having 3 different bolts to do one thing, they made like one piece that did all 3 of those things.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could have one thing do many things.
Right.
And by doing that, it's like literally they were able to like use this tactic to just like engineer a better vehicle without actually really changing anything about the vehicle itself.
Right. But they make it more reliable and cut down on the number of parts they have to produce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with this though, so I feel like this is kind of like what I was getting to is that I've got all of these things in my life. So like the smoker yesterday, it's like, I got up early. I got like the smoker on there. I had it all seasoned. Like, there's a probe that goes inside of the meat. So you can actually like cook it specifically to like the temperature and like the app alerts you like when it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Like it's very smart. And I was like, I can't mess it up,
Okay.
The only thing about it is that like the way that a smoker works is that like instead of like a propane grill where you have obviously a tank of gas that like is applying heat that is being burned.
Yeah.
And producing heat. You know how it works?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Just want to be sure.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I have a propane grill.
So the way that this thing works is it has this giant hopper, kind of like a paintball gun.
Okay.
You remember paintball guns?
Yeah.
You put all the things in the top and they feed in.
Yeah.
You have like basically a unlimited,
we've talked about
highly limited
guns
supply of bullets.
and how somehow every other human in our high school seemed to possess one and meet up on the weekends to play. And I was like, how does everyone have a paintball gun?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It still baffles me to this day. No, okay. So you've got a hopper, you put all these like wood pellets into the hopper, and then there's like a screw basically that like rotates throughout the day and dumps these pellets into like just a small little like basin that like burns them.
Right. Makes the smoke.
It makes the smoke.
Yeah.
And so about 8 hours into my day yesterday, I ran out of pellets.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like literally like taking out the trash and I'm like literally walking by my smoker, like can't wait to open it later. Like, cause you know, I didn't want to like open it all day specifically.
Right.
And like, I'm
let
like
that heat out.
I'm looking at the little like temperature on the gauge and it's like 87 degrees or something.
Oh,
it's
no.
supposed to be like, you know, 280. And I'm like, oh man.
Oh no.
Yeah. I was going to say,
yeah,
it's time for a different TikTok.
Time for a different TikTok trend.
Right. Yeah.
Oh no.
So I was like, oh man, the whole thing was, I don't know. It just ended up being only okay. And it was like, I was like, I need to reduce the number of parts in my life. I have too many parts. It was like, I'm like trying to increase the number of monitors. I'm trying to increase the number of pieces of technology I'm bringing with me on each bike ride.
Right.
I'm trying to like, you know, I don't know, just like there's so many different little things that I'm doing a terrible job of really understanding and focusing on any one of them.
Okay.
Too many moving parts.
So what are you like consolidating down?
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, this is like, so I have like these like thoughts all the time. One cup life. You know?
One cup life. Yeah.
One cup life. It's like the very symbolic representation of what I want to do with all things in my life.
Yeah.
Is just like
declutter.
Is declutter, pare it all down, and then just have like one thing, you know, like one thing left.
Yeah.
Just my single cup.
Yeah.
Just me and my cup.
That's it.
and how complicated could anything be from there?
Yeah. I mean, certainly you could just get rid of, think of the cabinet space that would open up to you.
I know.
If you had just the one cup, you could just get all your wine glasses gone.
Gone.
All your coffee mugs
gone.
Gone.
Yep.
You just have one cup.
Just one cup.
That's it.
So
cleaning it constantly, I have to imagine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So this is what happens to me, that whenever I get in these moods where I'm like, too many things going on, I always want to do the van life, you know? And then I always remember that van life is like effectively putting a house on wheels.
Yeah.
And then effectively, by way of like, you know, driving places.
Yeah.
Your house is going through an earthquake all the time.
All the time. This is like why there's that phrase about how BOAT stands for bust out another 1,000.
Yeah.
Right. It's because it's like you're driving your car, except every time you go over a wave, it's like you just dropped your car off a 1 foot drop and then landed again and kept doing that, but like 1,000 times.
Right.
It's like, why is everything constantly breaking on my boat? Like, because because the whole thing is in constant earthquake mode at all times.
At all times.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I don't own a boat.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I know.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's sort of been like my my big.
So that's your don't do van life thought?
Well, I don't even know. This is like the dilemma that I find myself in. Is that there's a part of me that loves the perception of simplicity attached to the idea of van life.
Okay.
Like, and I think that is what I'm in love with. It's like, I'm not like enamored necessarily with the idea of like going and like living in a van specifically. Like that's not the appeal itself. And it's also contrary to like maybe a lot of like people who do van life. It's like to be closer to like nature or to like go and be more involved with like outdoor activities or like to consolidate expenses. It's like, I think for me, it's just like, I like the idea of like knowing all of the things that are important to me are like right here.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, I can manage that. You know, it's like there's time.
You can be aware of everything.
I can be aware of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that is sort of like the escapism that I like attached to like this whole thing where it's like, okay, if I can just go and have like all my stuff in like, you know, a 70 square foot space, how great would everything be?
Right. Maybe you just need like a smaller house altogether.
Maybe. But like, that's the thought though. It's like, how, like what things can you consolidate? Like what can you get rid of? Because I think for so much of my life, I've always been like, okay, like, you know, the more you get into stuff, the more like accessories and doodads and add-ons and stuff like that you can like include in the process. And like, and I think that with that, I don't even know that perception's wrong. Like it is fun for me,
right,
to like go out and like seek out these new things and like to be excited about something new and sort of get involved with it and sort of like explore the hobby further.
Right.
I think the problem is that like if my full attention is placed on it, it's great. But if my full attention isn't placed on it, then it's like, oh man,
It's just taking up space.
it's taking up space, and I'll forget things. And then when I come back to it, I feel overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, this sounds this is striking very close to home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
What
totally.
do you have anything that's like this?
Oh, I mean, I'm just like a big proponent of getting rid of stuff.
Okay.
Just like get it right out of here. I don't want it. Just like I know at my house I've got too much. I constantly feel like I have too much, like children's toys. To me, you've been talking about like how to improve it. The best children's toy is one that is all contained into one unit.
Okay.
like we've got. I'm just trying to think what is the best example of this. Like Luke has an airplane, right? And it is you pick up the whole plane in one. That's it.
Okay.
It just, you can fly it around. It doesn't fly, but it just looks like a plane, fly around. Great toy.
Okay.
One piece of plastic, basically.
One piece
of plastic. On the other hand, we've got like, let's see this, a caterpillar you can assemble or disassemble that's made up of like 12 different like balls with a peg on the side.
Oh, I
see. And
see.
each one has like a socket and a peg. And so you can, rearrange it however you want, put the colors there. But you know what you end up with? It's just 13 balls on the floor in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's no good at all.
No good at all.
You don't, yeah, man, kids' toys that come in like pieces, no good. This is just like even,
this is so interesting. It's so interesting. Just being like Fun Uncle Ben for, 3 years now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's so interesting, like from my perspective, because the thought would always be like, oh man, like what better than like showing up and being able to like spoil your, nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
And just being able to like have so much fun with that. It's like, hey, look, a new toy for you. And it's like, you never really think about it from the parents' perspective who are like, we do not need more stuff.
Yeah.
In this house.
There's a lot of stuff.
But that's exactly how it is.
Well, and it's like for a while there was this illusion that, there's always this hope that like, okay, this is a toy now, but eventually you'll just outgrow this toy and then we can just like Goodwill it or consign it or, get rid of it.
Sure.
Just get rid of this toy, be out of the house. But then we have the twins and it's like, okay, well, we always knew we wanted like, another child, didn't know it was going to be twins.
Sure.
But whatever, it was like, so you were keeping all this stuff. You'd like Luke would outgrow it and then it would still be around and unused.
Oh, sure.
For the eventuality that it would be used by the next child as well.
Right.
So now there's this like light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, as soon as you guys start outgrowing things,
I can get rid of the rest.
Getting it gone.
It is not staying here.
It is going away.
This is so funny, especially coming from you, because I feel like you are a particularly nostalgic person.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have frequently found that like if mom and dad send me home with a tote full of things that like they had found in my bedroom and stuff, I'm not very emotionally attached to those things.
Yeah.
And so frequently it's like I could take these to Goodwill. Some of it might be trash because it's like it's too specific to me.
Right.
To like, you don't want to have like a small soccer trophy that says, Navy SEALs, Benjamin Carlin.
Right.
The 1997 season or something.
That's just garbage if you don't want it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, like that doesn't really do anybody a whole lot of good. But on the flip side, you are someone who I would have thought to be like maybe sentimental, maybe nostalgic, maybe attached to and unwilling to part with things.
I would say growing up, I was a little bit more like that.
Okay.
Where I was like, oh yeah, I do have an attachment to this. I should, I don't want to get rid of it. But I would say over the past like 10 years or so, I've done like almost a complete 180.
Oh wow.
On this. So I do have like tubs of stuff from mom and dad's house. And literally the only reason like I have like a big Rubbermaid just full of toys like from our own childhood.
Sure.
And the only reason I have not like dumped those was just like maybe Luke would like them or something. But at this point I'm like, why would I introduce this giant box of old toys into my son's life? That's just more stuff for me to pick up.
True.
Good.
See, okay, I have a couple of friends and you can tell me if you do this as well, but they say like at Christmas and birthdays and stuff, when they get like toys for their kids, they'll literally take some of them just like up to the attic.
Yeah.
And just be like, I'm just going to save these for like 2 months from now when they get bored of something else and be like, hey, look, a new toy.
Oh yeah, that is a real thing. We have just a box of toys in the basement that's like, okay, eventually we'll just cycle some of the things down here and cycle these back upstairs.
Nice.
Yeah.
So smart.
So that'll hopefully have, but the things I have like stuff like boxes of in the basement are like yearbooks or something. It's
oh,
like,
sure.
Like, you know, do I ever really look at these? No, but I can imagine a future where maybe it would be nice to, you know, look.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You're exactly right. Like yearbooks are one of those where it's like they are kind of sentimental, and I do have a case of yearbooks at my house that I have not thrown away. And they were the ones that they like made the list. You know, it was like, okay, these are hard to part with. But the thing about yearbooks is I feel like it would be almost me waiting for that day eventually, like when my kids would be like, I want to see what you looked like in high school. And it would be like, let's go get my yearbooks.
I've got them.
And I remember specifically when we were growing up, mom had like a box because like mom had moved from like New York to the state of Virginia and like had gone through college and like all this stuff. And I remember she had this like box of like her, like a handful of like track medals from high school. And like, I think she had like a little like piece of like a balled up piece of like tinfoil that had like her track spikes in them, like the metal spikes themselves. And I remember being like, that's pretty cool. And yeah, a couple yearbooks and like a jacket. And I mean, it like wasn't like a lot of stuff, but I remember her showing them to me. And it was like, as I don't know, maybe like a 9-10-year-old kid, it was like the first time it ever occurred to me that my mom had once been a kid like me.
Right.
Because when you're growing up, it's almost like the same way that you think like your teachers, like in elementary school and stuff, you're like, the teachers just live here, right? Like, yeah, they don't have families at home. And like, you know,
lives outside of teaching.
Right. Like you only know them at school. And so like, I remember in kindergarten just thinking that like Miss Tavener just was always there. You know, it was like, man, so where do you sleep? You know, like, yeah, I don't know. So I thought that was really interesting. But so it's almost for me, it would be like, I remember that I had that day with mom and she showed me all this stuff. And I think she had a lot of fun showing me as a kid. It's like, but then after that, it's like, I don't know if that's the moment where it's like, okay, my kids know what I look like now.
That's
as a kid.
it.
Yeah. Like
we're done.
They have served their purpose. The time capsule worked.
Yeah.
They now know that I too was once a kid, and they'll totally use that in all its necessary rationalities for future arguments.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. I have got another big box. I have is DVDs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like this was such a thing growing up, like, especially through like college and like high school, was like, I feel like very carefully manicuring this like collection of movies that you own.
Yeah.
Like, these are the movies like that I have chosen to be a part. Like, these are a representation and extension
of my
personality in a way. Like, this is my sense. These are my sensibilities and,
yes,
you know, tastes in things.
This is something that not that I have super experienced this particular, like, I don't know, thing, but you're exactly right. Like, I almost feel like, and I'm sure that in some ways it could also apply for like a CD collection, you know, or, you know, records or whatever, like throughout time. But like, if you were maybe like bringing like a significant other over to your home for the first time, like this might be something that like you introduce them to a little bit.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Like
it's almost like, here are the movies that I deemed worthy of purchasing.
Exactly.
Are there any of them that you would like to watch?
What an easy way for the Venn diagram to cross over.
I know, exactly. It's like,
okay.
Which of these also work for you?
Yeah.
We're about to learn a lot about each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
But now it's like, you know, with all streaming services and stuff, it's like literally every movie is like just at fingertips.
Pretty much.
You know, and it's really not terribly difficult.
Yeah, no, it's not like what collection of streaming services do you have?
Right.
Oh,
right. That would be
You've
an
got
interesting one.
Netflix and Disney Plus, and that's it.
Right. Although I wonder if that is a thing. If anybody's out in the dating world, we'd have to let us know. But like, in that streaming game, like if you were to go over, you know, to someone's house for the first time and be like, oh my gosh, you have to check out this show. It's on Hulu Plus. And then they're like, I don't have Hulu. Maybe Hulu is a bad example because it doesn't seem like as ubiquitous as like Netflix or like Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But like, if you were to just, I almost feel like in my mind, and maybe this is me just being extraordinarily presumptuous, but it would be like, oh yeah, pull up Disney Plus. Like, I'll show you this documentary I found. And it would be like, I don't have Disney Plus. And it'd be like, what do you mean you don't have Disney Plus?
I mean, I feel like if
How
someone,
could that be?
I feel like if you personally were dating someone who didn't have Disney Plus, given what we do, that might be a red flag. Like,
a red flag.
Like, it's like, there's nothing wrong if you don't like Disney movies or anything. Whatever. Maybe you don't want to have Disney Plus, but
my career is going to confuse you.
But like, yeah, like, I got news for you. This is a huge part of my life.
Right. Yeah, be prepared.
Like, I got married at Disney World, so also I'm married. That's a big red flag for you, probably.
I should have brought that up.
Should have brought that up
before this point. Yeah. Certainly that would have come up, I believe. I believe.
Think so.
Yeah. Although there's always that opportunity. Like, I would say that differences early on are almost advantages, because I think that that's something where it's like, now I still have the opportunity to like be the person to introduce you to this new thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's such camaraderie that comes from that.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
It's almost, it's like right now, for example, we were talking about mountain biking earlier. I just recently got Alice to go mountain biking.
Yeah.
I think actually in huge thanks to you, because you bought your wife, Beth, a bike for Christmas. And then once Beth was going to go, I think Alice was like, okay, someone I know who is also a beginner will be out there.
Right.
I am now interested in going. And then when she was out there, she was like, I'm having a hootin' and hollering good time.
How
and
can
I was
you
like,
not?
I knew you would, but I mean, that's the thing. You just got to have the right circumstances to make everything go, make it nice and even. This has been like my phrase lately is, oh my gosh, it just went completely out of my head.
Circumstances?
No, I got it. Cross-threading.
Okay.
Cross-threading circumstances. So this would be, okay. So for example, with mountain biking, let me back up. I want to do this better.
Okay.
Do you know what cross-threading is?
I'm imagining like gears.
Okay, kind of like gears.
Like interlocking.
Gears. So imagine like a nut and bolt.
Yeah.
And like if you go to start screwing the bolt onto the nut.
Oh yeah.
And it spins freely.
Right.
And it will tighten all the way down, and you're like, oh, that was nice and satisfying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sometimes if like it's in like a hard to reach spot, or if you just don't care that much, it might be really hard to turn, but you might be like, if I get the right tool, like a ratchet, I can make it turn. And you start cranking on it, and it's hard to turn it, but it will go.
Right.
That's called cross-threading.
Right.
And effectively what you're doing is like carving a new path into the bolt.
Right.
With the nut.
With the screw.
Right.
Yeah.
And it becomes this thing where it's like the further you go, the more damage you're doing. And I feel like this is like something so often if I'm entering like a new phase, a new idea, a new like pathway for my life, it's making sure I'm not cross-threading it. And so like, for example, like with biking, it was almost like I really wanted Alice to go for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, if I go out and like rent a bike on her behalf and say, we're going biking today, then she was going to feel super intimidated, not happy at all with it. And it was going to be the type of thing where you would start with that nut, like on the wrong set of threads. And then the further you go with it, and the longer you go, the more and more cross-threaded it becomes.
Right.
And so I feel like what happened was it was just patience and waiting and just wiggling the nut just the right way until it goes on smoothly. And then it starts spinning, and it's no problem, and everything's great. And she likes biking.
Yay.
And so I think this is the thing, though. If you feel like you're cross-threading, I almost feel like it's like a gut feeling. It's like something isn't right about pushing forward with this. I'm cross-threading the situation. I need to back up. I need to reassess. And wait until it turns smoothly.
Do you think you were cross-threading your computer monitor?
100%. 100%. I cross-threaded it so bad.
No doubt.
Yeah. I was
not really. Nothing you did seemed to be like the problem.
Well, and that's the thing though, is that it's like, I always think about this. Like if an expert was watching you make a mistake, but you didn't know you were making a mistake, it's almost like watching a baking show where like at the beginning, they were like, now they're going to need to be really careful about not using baking soda because it's going to have a reaction with the dough. Let's just, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And then like, as you're like watching, like you are now an expert on the use of baking soda in the dough.
Yeah.
And then if you're watching and you see that one person use it and you're like, oh, they just messed up.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like things just got bad.
Production secret. If you saw the judges warn you about a particular mistake, it's because someone made that mistake.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I almost feel like that's the thing where it's like, if you were an expert on computer monitors, you could have been like, see what he's trying to do here though. He's only got a standard iMac, and that's a ultra high HD widescreen monitor. It's like, those are not compatible ideas. It's like, it's not wrong to think that it would be likely to use a second monitor.
Right.
The problem is that like what he's trying to do is like too much monitor. His iMac can't handle it. So what's going to happen is it's going to send a surge into the system, kind of like in A New Hope when Luke shoots the torpedo thing and it goes into the tractor beam.
You sent basically an X-Wing into the other monitor.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it blew it up.
Wow.
It didn't smoke or anything, but like, I'm pretty sure it blew it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It went black. So
just like the Death Star.
Just like the Death Star.
Where there was a Death Star, now there is black.
Now there is black.
It is called space.
Which, if you would love a monitor that has a lovely view of that space, I have just the thing.
There you go.
That's all it shows, is just the darkness of the void.
Of the void.
Oh my gosh. This feels like a good stopping point. Does
Okay.
it not?
I think so.
I think we've gotten there.
I think we're there.
Yeah. So, as a reminder, we have a brand new tier over on Patreon.
Over on Patreon.
If you go to patreon.com/popcornculture,
Yep.
It's a new tier. It's $25 a month. And quarterly, we will have a very exclusive, awesome piece of merch. We're going to kick off with Fred the Cup. Which is going to be, it's a Yeti mug. It is like the actual Yeti brand. It's a powder-coated stainless steel cup with the laser-etched Popcorn Culture logo. Right in the center of it. It's an absolute beaut. If you look in the show notes, we have better pictures of it, so you can scope it out, shop around before you sign up. And if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to the conversation.
Welcome.
If you're new.
Welcome to the pop.
Welcome to the pop. It's unbelievable and scary, and I tried to not think about it the entire time that we went like on
that the camera was on.
The camera was on. You know, it's so funny because we make videos every single week.
Yeah.
To the very audience of people who are watching us. And I was really nervous.
Oh.
I was like, it felt like being on stage, like the spotlight came on. You're like, deep breath. We got this. We got this. So hopefully we did okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but if you were watching the video version of it, this podcast is available wherever podcasts are.
Our podcast.
Yeah. There needs to be a catchy sentence that is like, because podcasts aren't sold, right?
Right.
You know, it's not like wherever podcasts are sold, like, which is what I want to say.
Right. Wherever podcasts are streamed or downloadable.
But I want it to like have that nice, good ring to it.
Wherever podcasts are pod.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wherever podcasts are monitor.
Wherever podcasts are popped.
That's not bad.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea that like if we help initiate this phrase, that all other podcasts will adopt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would like to do.
It'll be like,
we'll leave our mark on podcasts everywhere. We'll have a Wikipedia article about us. And then the Cave Spring High School Wikipedia page can finally list us as a notable alumni. Dreams do come true.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen because
I don't think we're cross-threading that situation at all, Ben.
We're threading it beautifully.
We are threading it beautifully. We have not reached for the ratchet and just continued
to crank on forward.
These circumstances have been manipulated perfectly.
Perfectly. It's all working out. We would like to give a special thank you to these patrons who support us on Patreon, including Olivia Buckman, Caitlin Kamey, Jason McDaniel, Sarah Frederick, Andrea Guerin, Logan Liphart, Corey Evans, Cade, Peyton Smith, Josh Davies, and Sierra Vigil Trulio. As always, if you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/popcornculture.
Yeah.
Otherwise, until next week.
Pop.